Yeah.
importance in Iraq? Because I remember that we told that north is different to the south. Maybe you can describe this water framework in Iraq.
Yeah. So when I saw them, it was just on a nice evening out, for example, and I was told I was going to go by the river. I saw the river, and it was basically empty, very little water. And I thought, this isn't how a river's supposed to be. A river's supposed to have water inside. And I was told, like, it's because of damming upstream, and kind of went and researched about that. There's quite a lot of factors, I think, within the whole basin that I think contributes to that. Part of it is the fact that Iraq itself doesn't have much water from its rainfall, and like surface water contributing to the Euphrates basin itself. So it kind of relies on the upstream the most. Most of the water comes from Turkey. Actually, Iraq actually covers about 47% of the basin, but no surface water from Iraq actually contributes to that. Whereas Turkey covers only 28% of the basin, but contributes about 90% of the flow that's going in. So you can kind of see like how it changes from upstream to downstream, based on just the geography, the climate, the fact that it's so much more arid in Iraq compared to Turkey. The annual rainfall in general in Turkey is about 1,000 millimeters annually, compared to Iraq, which is about 250 millimeters. So the difference in climate is massive. So I think that itself kind of poses the nature of what's going to happen downstream versus upstream, and what you're kind of expecting. But generally there is a flow going in, so there is water kind of supposed to go downstream because that's how a river works. It collects all the water, then takes it downstream. And I think that was the case for quite a long time. But I think around 1960 is kind of when that pivotal point started with these basins, and things started to change. So I think before then, the rivers were used. It wasn't that they weren't used or anything like that, but most of their use was downstream. Iraq kind of was the first kind of like user of this basin, which is okay because it wasn't affecting anyone downstream. It was using it for irrigation as general, which is actually one of the biggest kind of uses that Iraq uses it for: irrigation, agriculture, kind of sustaining that. It's Iraq's main freshwater supply, so that's where they heavily basically rely on this. But after kind of 1960, 1970, there was quite a big kind of input into like big infrastructure and developments, and that's kind of when the shift started. And when you get infrastructure like dams, there's storage, and with storage you can kind of control when flow goes in, when flow goes out. So there were like quite a few big dams, the Kaban Dam in Turkey, Tabark Dam in Syria. Those were kind of like a big first infrastructure. And that, when you start to be able to kind of store water, you be able to kind of like control the variability, the time, the flow volume. That's kind of when the flow kind of stops being just a natural system,